Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start off. Who are you and what do you guys do?
Um, John Williams. We kind of got into a role where we were looking at specializing and specializing in waterproofing the underside of your deck. So that's kind of the role that we're chasing in the outdoor living that's coming to Sioux Falls pretty rapidly. So, yeah.
I'm Erica Williams. I'm John's wife. I was a nurse for 15 years, actually, until 2021 when I finally started working with him. He got busy enough in the remodeling world is where he started when we moved back to Sioux Falls from Colorado in 2020, and he just needed a second set of hands. So I volunteered.
And here you are.
Yeah. So here we are. And we actually did remodeling for about a full year before we found this product. And people just repeatedly, when we were in their home, kept asking for us to do something with that space, that patio space that's underneath their deck, whether it be waterproofing it or putting some sort of ceiling on it just so it looked better. So he looked for about 6 months and actually found this product out of Atlanta. And they've been making it since 1996. And it's a heavy gauge steel product that actually does not attach to the underside of the deck. It attaches to the structural perimeter of the deck. And so basically becomes a drop ceiling. And so there's slope to it. All the water drains away. There's an air pocket for airflow. And we just thought, why do we not have this here?
Right, because so many decks are just the deck boards. And there's no usable space in rainy weather or
So
snowy.
we went down to Atlanta to meet with the gentleman and kind of still convince him to have his dealership up here. You go to any development or any place and you look down the back line of decks and it's just, you don't see a single unfinished space underneath that area. I mean, everywhere.
It was very eye-opening because
They're all finished.
the opposite here. It's very unusual to have that space finished or covered because it's just A, I think it's unknown, and B, it's not really a known used space. Like people don't really think of that space as a functional extension of their home.
Right.
But when you waterproof it, you certainly can.
Right. Well, and like the summers here are very, very short. And so really you just get to use it for a couple of months out of the year. And if you can extend that living space, that's huge.
Yeah, it's the cheapest way to add additional dry square footage to your home outside of doing an addition. It's cheaper than doing an addition. So then you can extend it into the spring season because if it's raining, you're obviously not going to want to be in that space. But if you have a waterproof ceiling over your head, you can certainly sit out there and still have coffee or watch the game or do whatever you want to do yoga. You know, it can be a space of whatever you're wanting it to be. It has unlimited potential. Even in the winter, we have clients who they'll put a ceiling on and then they put heaters under there. And we have people having little like cocktail parties out there in December,
so awesome.
which blows my mind, but is super fun for us to hear that they're really extending
such
that
a
use.
mild winter this year. We had people using it all the way through Christmas. I mean, it was just, and you don't have to take the patio covers off and store them somewhere and make sure who put them back on or who forgot to put them on and now everything's wet. I mean, it's basically you take them off, you leave them off, keep the space clean up above. Even when weather does, you don't have to remember who didn't cover this or who didn't do that. So it's just kind of a lot easier when the space is already ready to go. And then to use it when you just have that thought of like, let's go outside because it's a beautiful evening versus like, what's the preparation to have that space ready? You know, if you had to hand uncover your pool every day, you probably wouldn't go out and use the pool because who's going to hand uncover that? But when you can just flick a switch and it uncovers itself, you're going to just run out, jump and use it and then run back inside. So one of those things where I think just the fact that it just keeps that space to an area of just easy access to it.
Very convenient.
Yeah, it just makes it very easy to have those spontaneous, let's just go use this space.
parties.
Yeah, let's just go use this or let's eat out there. Let's go sit. And that's kind of what we've been hearing from a lot of the clients. A lot of it was just let's cover it up because we don't like the look of it. And that's just our goal. It's just it doesn't look very good now that you point it out because most of the time they really didn't look at the structure until they started looking at theirs and looking at the pictures of finished. And then they kind of gets in their
quite
head.
a drastic difference
It is.
from the unfinished, just the structural bottom pieces and then having it finished. It's really quite stunning.
Yeah. I mean, you really feel like you're in a room inside. Like it truly, and especially if people, I mean, again, sky's the limit with the space once it has a waterproof ceiling. We have people do screens, they build walls. I mean, you can enclose it. There's just so many options to do with the space once you've got it waterproof, because now you don't have to worry about water intrusion, and then you're adding screens for bug protection and even the screens a little bit for wind in the winter. Like it just, and then you add the heaters, and again it's just kind of a snowball effect, and it becomes this really gratifying space that you already had. So it's not like you're adding it, you already had this space.
More usable space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably my phone.
You see, that doesn't sound like one of mine.
So, how did you come across this product? Were you looking for it? How did you find Atlanta?
That was a
Page 11 of Google.
Yep.
At 11:30 at night, he wakes me up.
Yeah, that was a long process.
Hey.
That's,
Yeah, he's like, you got to look at this. That's amazing.
we had, even when we were in Colorado, we had a lot of requests for that space. And then Sioux Falls, it turning into a lot of people that own hot tubs that, they'd open the hot tub, all the heat
Sure.
rises up, they scoop all the snow they want, but it's still in the cracks, it still drips down, and it still is a mess. So it's kind of one of those things where everything is kind of thought of these days. Someone thought of something these days. So it's just a matter of finding it. And stuff that was available to us at the time, just never, if it didn't look good in their website, it probably didn't look good in person. It's just
Very
one of those
true.
things where
Yeah.
it's the opposite. When you're looking at a home, the pictures, you got to go see it in person because pictures can be deceiving. But when it just looked off in the pictures, it was like, it's got to be. And if that's on their front page, I'm hoping that was the best of the best. So if that's it, so it was kind of like, someone has to be smarter than me. This can't be the first time of looking like, there's
Someone
got to
wants a
be
deck
something.
ceiling.
There's got to
Yeah.
be something. And yeah, it was probably took 6 months of
Looked
just
for a long time.
constantly searching, trying to get further and further out there in just all these different areas. And then this company popped up and it looked great online. All their dealerships looked great. Had a finished look without knowing it was a waterproof ceiling. And I think that's the ones that have a house gutter really threw us off, especially just kind of with that. We want that finished, seamless look. And so
Don't want you to feel like you're outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just really truly wanted an extension of your home, and everything that we were coming across was tin, aluminum, vinyl, and it either didn't last very long. It doesn't last very long in our climate, just with our fluctuations in
Sure.
hot and cold with our seasons, or it didn't look that great once it was up. And we really like to give clients products that have longevity and
Yeah.
that we feel good about. And when we sell you something or install something for you, I want it to last, and I want you to love it, and I want it to look fantastic
One and
in
done.
30 years as it
Mhm.
does the day we put it in. And so this was just, we
And
couldn't believe it that
yeah.
it was
and
a
then,
heavy gauge steel. And
then the contractor mind throws in, and then it was serviceable. That was the biggest thing where like, let's say we put up the ceiling and the homeowner gets hold of me, a different product gets hold of me and wants to do something. They want to add a gas line for a fireplace up top. And it's kind of like, I'm not touching what I just put in because it's a disaster to pull it apart without damaging
the other products.
all of it. Then,
So then you'd have to
It's
replace
just-
like the whole ceiling if you
or
wanted
have
to
that
do-
conversation of like, I can try to pull this apart, but you might have to replace quite a bit or X amount, but I can't give you that until I tear it apart. And then that kind of kills the product of like, you put it in and it's a one and done. This one acts like a drop ceiling. I don't have to have any tools. I don't have to have any special, I can teach the homeowner how to do it, and it basically acts like a drop ceiling, so you can access all that stuff. Service anything, you can pull it down completely. Service, clean the deck underside.
Mm.
Visual inspection, if someone wants to do, sells a house and wants to do a home inspection, we can easily, we're definitely, that's kind of one of the things where that really stood out too, is
I
where,
never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense for a home inspection.
yep. So that's kind of where it was like, we just didn't, in a home we like to have where, let's say the tiled showers above the kitchen sink. Well, that's a horrible place to have a leak, but how do you know it's leaking until it's leaking?
Right.
And then you have to deal with the aftermath. We kind of like the fact that you can keep an eye on things. You can have,
Big on prevention.
yeah, it's just that
Prevent the problem.
Right.
there's going to be a problem. You just have to be aware of it. And then how can we just ease the solution once the problem's there? So that's kind of the real drawn in part, the mindset of a contractor where we really love the product. Not necessarily the homeowner's view of why they love the product. We love that it looks great and they love what it does for them.
Mhm.
But on our end of it, the access and the serviceability after we leave is what we really enjoy about it. And that's
That's what really set it off
Mhm.
in comparison to the other products. And like I said, if you're attaching something directly to the bottom of your deck to the joist, you're trapping water, and then there's water intrusion, there's debris that collects, and that's again why we didn't like any of these systems. And then they're hard to
That's
get
what
out.
all of the other systems were.
The
is
majority
it
of them
was
all attached
these
in
other
some form.
materials, and then they go to the bottom joist.
Yep, right to the bottom, and it's just your deck needs to breathe, and so that's a big misconception with this too. Is like, oh, you're trapping water, but we're nowhere near the deck joists. We're down below them. There's no water being held up against the joists. There's no debris collecting on there. They stay nice and dry, and the whole system slopes and dries out on its own just per design. So we just really fell in love with it and hope to do this full time now. So
it makes perfect sense. I mean, how many decks are out there?
Yeah, tons. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing too. Is there's some products you have to capture during the new build of the deck, but you really can't convince a 5-year-old deck owner to tear up all their boards to put down this waterproofing system, and then hopefully we can get them all back down without any damage. Kind of unrealistic on the labor side cost of things. So the fact that we can capture new decks, but existing decks we can really incorporate it without having it look like we was a secondary product and was kind of smashed together. And it usually at the end of everything we can get it pretty seamless on it was a thought process during the whole entire deal.
Really intentional.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's really what design, especially with renovations and remodels, that's really what design is all about. Is whatever you're doing, you want it to look like it's always been there, or it always meant to be that way, because otherwise if it sticks out like a sore thumb, then it's not well thought out or a good job done.
Yeah.
So for the technicalities part of it, how does that work for an existing deck?
It's super easy. I mean, we come in and we basically just put a 2x10 perimeter board of the client's choice. We usually start with brown treated, but we can do cedar, we can do composite, we can do engineered lumber. So we like to do the things that will last again. So we don't typically use green treated because the brown treated is kiln dried. So they can paint it, they can stain it right away. There's no wait time. And then it usually, since it's brown treated, looks nice right off the bat till they can do something with it. But we'll attach that perimeter board all the way around, including on the house side. So if you have siding, we'll usually take that siding off and go straight to the structure of the house. That way, if they ever change their siding, again, longevity, they can side right up to that board without having to worry about their siding underneath this, leaking behind that, things like that. So we install that perimeter board, and then we come in with our system, and we install the system after that.
Nice. And that can be done on, I know we were talking before about like multiple sections. So you can tie all of those pieces in with the deck board or the perimeter board, and then all of these pieces, and then the downspouts and everything, correct?
Yep. And each deck is unique, and each deck is custom fit and measured. Everything comes actually custom measured and cut for each individual deck from Atlanta, where we get the product. So once we come to your house and we do a site visit and we move forward, everything is measured to the T, exactly what's going to go on that specific deck. And then we have that all drawn up in a plan, and then that's how it all gets installed.
Nice. And how long does an install usually take?
About a week, typically, depending on the complexity. We know once you start talking accessories and things like that, because we can do lights and speakers and fans, that slows us down a little bit. Just takes a little bit more time because we're cutting holes in the panels, and then everything gets waterproofed and sealed up above. And so that takes a little bit more time, but on average, it takes about a week, a typical size deck. Obviously, the bigger and more complex they are, the longer they take. But
I love it. Okay, so what are goals that you have for this year?
oh gosh, do more ceilings.
Too many.
Get people to know that we exist is one thing, because outdoor living is just kind of starting here. I feel like we really have seen it take off a little bit more.
The pool industry is, I mean, we've been in some neighborhoods where they have a pool and 3 homes around us are getting new pools. I mean, it's just that's just one random time we were at their home putting the ceiling in. And, so I think that space, create a space where the family can play, stay, kind of always have a place to be entertained at. I think it's definitely growing. It definitely isn't like some communities where you fly over them and it's just blue dots everywhere you look, but it's definitely, I think, catching on where, I mean, just having that ability to have that entertainment space without leaving, without going anywhere, because everybody's so busy. I mean, it's just run.
Right.
And so if we can just stay home and just relax and take a breath
Right.
and have some of the entertainment to wear out the kids and to do some of that stuff, I think is
Maximize relaxation.
definitely catching on. So I think, that's the biggest thing is just like the awareness is, our goal is to just have that light bulb of like thinking of us when we think of those spaces.